Alice says D'Angelo's son, 9-year-old D'Angelo Jr., crashed into her vehicle with his bike.
Mrs. Ramos, it is your complaint that this little boy right over here was on his bicycle, fell off of his bicycle, and scratched your car. You want his father to pay for the scratch on the car. Is that right? And Mr. Trent says?
Not a chance.
When did this happen?
June 19th of 2004.
Were you at home at the time?
Yes, it was a Saturday. We had had a yard sale at my residence, and this child here had been riding his bicycle the better part of the day, up and down.
What's your name?
D'Angelo Trent Jr.
D'Angelo.
Yes.
Did you know him before?
I've seen him in the neighborhood, but I didn't know whose child he was.
But you had seen him before?
Oh, yes.
For how long?
He's lived in our neighborhood as long as I can recall.
So you know him. This is the child who you hadn't seen 100 times before.
Oh, definitely.
Alice Ramos says neighbor 9-year-old D'Angelo Trent Jr. damaged her car when he crashed his bicycle. D'Angelo's father, D'Angelo Sr., claims his son doesn't own a bike.
So what did you see when he fell off the bike?
He bumped into the bumper of my car, and he fell off his bicycle. At that point, I was not concerned about my car. Myself, my nephew Andrew, and my niece all ran out to the street to see if he was okay. He seemed okay, but he fell awfully hard for how quickly he jumped back up.
And subsequently you found a scratch on your car?
When we first checked, we saw what looked like rubber scraping on the bumper of the car. And I told the little boy, before he took off, I told him, that's okay, this can be buffed out, you can go. So he jumped on his bike and he took off, more scared than hurt, I think. And 10 minutes later, he comes back with another young man on the handlebars. And he and his friend got off, and he started to show the friend what he had done. Well, unbeknownst to us, we were more concerned in the beginning about his welfare. We didn't really inspect the car. I saw the rubber scrapes on the bumper. But he's showing him another area of the car which we had not seen. And there is a scrape on the trunk.
You have a picture of it?
No, I don't.
Why don't you have a picture of it?
As I go on to the story, you'll see why.
Okay.
There was a good gash to where the whole paint and primer, everything came off right down to the metal. And it was right at the height about where the handlebars are.
So what did you do next?
I said, did you do this with your bike? And he said, he nodded his head, yes. I said, well, then you can't leave. I need to talk to you. He looked at me wide-eyed, scared, started to cry, jumped back on his bike, and took off, and left his little friend there. I asked his friend, do you know who this little boy is? I've seen him in the neighborhood many times, but I don't know who he is. And he says, yes, that's D'Angelo's son. And I said, D'Angelo, I know D'Angelo. I've known D'Angelo the father since he was knee-high to a grasshopper, since he grew up in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So I said, can you take me to his house? So he walked.
Okay, so let's move on a little bit. Ms. Ramos, did Mr. D'Angelo say that he would take care of the problem?
Absolutely.
And that's why you had it fixed and you didn't take a picture? I'm just running ahead because that sounds like what you're going to tell me.
Yeah, I didn't take a picture because I had to call the police because we could not locate him, the father.
Why?
Because there was no one at the house. The house was all opened up, windows, doors, everything was opened up at the house. There was nobody there.
Okay, so when the police came, he said he would fix...
He told the police officers he would take care of it between me and him.
Okay, stop. And you had it fixed. How much did it cost you to have it fixed?
$300.
Do you have a receipt?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. You weren't there.
I wasn't there.
He was there.
He was there.
How long have you known Mrs. Ramos?
22 years.
She a nice lady?
Nice lady.
Seems like a lovely lady.
Yeah.
Seems like a caring lady. Is concerned about your son?
Right.
More concerned about your son than her car?
Right.
Aren't you paying the $300?
Because my son doesn't own a bike. He was on the pegs of that.
He was riding a bike that day. Now, Mr. Trent, you seem like an intelligent man, sir.
I am.
If you had to make a choice as to whether Mrs. Ramos or your 9-year-old son was telling you the truth, who would you pick? Who would you pick, sir? I haven't even spoken to him. I know who I would pick.
I know the child that was riding the bike, and I know he's nowhere in court.
Listen
so I
to
don't
me,
know why my
sir.
son's here.
You weren't there. Mrs. Ramos, who you've known for 22 years,
Right.
says that your son was the one who was riding the bike. You weren't home. So I'm going to go back to my original question. If you had to make a choice as to whether your 9-year-old son, D'Angelo, was telling the truth, or Mrs. Ramos was telling the truth, who would you pick?
I would pick my son, of course.
Well, then you would pick wrong. Your son, and you weren't there, was riding the bike. Look at me, D'Angelo. Isn't that right?
No.
Baloney.
Judge, when you ask her if there were two people there was a person riding and he was on the pegs.
No.
Please ask her.
She said he was riding the bike. Is that what you told me?
That's right.
Was there two children there?
No. When the incident happened, there was only one child on the bike.
When he
D'Angelo
came
Jr.
back, she said there were two people. He was riding and there was another child on the handlebars. And then when she went out there and confronted them, he got scared and left the other kid there. And if he's not telling you that story,
The other child
I
told me
take
the
him out to
story.
the barn. Judgment to the plaintiff in the amount of $300. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Is suing the mother of her son's girlfriend, homemaker Melody Marine, for the return of a pit bull named Samson. Melody is countersuing for the dog's expenses.
Yeah, this is case number 234 on the calendar in the matter of Gransbury Conte versus Marine. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Pronounce your last name for me.
Gransbury Conte?
Miss Conte, you have a son
That is correct.
whose name is Zane. He is currently incarcerated.
He's in a rehab.
Did he go into rehab after his term in prison?
Yes.
This lady has a daughter. Her daughter has a child with your son.
Yes.
Her daughter is currently in rehab.
No, she's home in
How long was she in rehab?
35 days.
Probably not enough.
Probably not.
But this is not about the child. This is not about anything. This is about a dog. Because it is your claim that Miss Marine
Yes.
had your son's dog, a year-old pit bull, and she took possession of the dog when your son went to prison. There was an agreement that she would do that, but after 9 or 10 months, she gave the dog away. Miss Marine says nobody wanted this dog. The dog was an untrained animal when she got him. And she's counterclaiming because she said, if you've got your son's power of attorney, you ought to pay her for the year's worth of food and vet bills. And in addition to the fact that she fed this dog and took care of him for a year, he also was dangerous and caused injury to her pet duck. And there was substantial vet bills. So that's what the case is about. Don't you have better things to think about than this?
Yes.
You've got a son who's got a drug problem. You've got a daughter who's got a drug problem. You share a grandchild.
Yes.
And how old is this grandchild?
She's 22 months, ma'am.
Now, I'm going to get to your case in a second, but it would seem to me that you two ladies, if you were intelligent young ladies, would concentrate on this 22-month-old child who had the misfortune of having two drug addicts as parents.
Absolutely.
We reach an accord. Perfect. All right, so let's take care of the dog first, and then we're going to talk about the baby.
Okay.
When your son went to jail, why didn't you take the dog?
I went to Spokane to pick the dog up. At that time, I was with Carrie. I stayed at Carrie's house, and we had an agreement because I was going to take the dog to take it back, and she had asked me if I would leave the dog with her because she felt that it made it like my son was still there.
You mean her daughter?
Yeah, her daughter.
All right, so her
And
daughter
I had-
said, leave me the dog because I will feel close
Yeah.
to my man.
Yeah, exactly. And I had offered, I said, if anything comes up with the dog, if you can't handle it, anything that you need to give me a call, I had no problem, making payments for dog food or whatever. Yeah, we did talk about that.
That's with her daughter.
Yeah, with her daughter. Melody wasn't even in the picture.
Okay. But there came a time when Melanie came into the picture.
Carrie had gotten sick. She had some other medical problems.
Her daughter?
Yes. Melody, from what I understand, stepped in to help Carrie with the dog.
And when was that?
I'm not sure exactly when, because Carrie and I were not talking after November because of Melody.
Why?
When I went down there for my son's trial, I had stayed with Carrie, and Melody has nothing but horrible things to say about my son to my face on a regular basis, even when she put on my wedding.
Okay.
That's all I heard about.
Okay. So the mother was angry at your son.
Exactly. And she had interceded a letter from my son to Carrie, and she said that if Carrie's plan was to be a jailhouse bride, she was going to have no part of it. She was going to give her an ultimatum that she wasn't going to take care of her child and the dog and everything if this is what her daughter's choice was going to be. I went and I, told Carrie what she had said. Carrie confronted her mom, and Melody twisted it and said that wasn't what she said, and then, Carrie wasn't talking to me.
If you had a daughter, would you want her to marry somebody who was in jail?
No.
Of course not.
No.
Because you would think that that was a bad choice.
Exactly.
So, how many months did the dog stay with Miss Marine before you asked for the dog back?
April is when I found out she gave the dog away. So
Now,
it
what
was
I'm
like
asking
7
you-
months.
Now, what I'm asking you, so you knew that Miss Marine had the dog for 7 months.
Not her, Carrie.
How many months did you know that she had the dog, not
None.
Carrie? None at all?
None.
Okay. And she actually had the dog for how many months?
Between 8 and 9 months.
After your daughter couldn't take care of the dog anymore.
My daughter never took care of the dog.
So that means that for 8 or 9 months you weren't checking on this dog regularly.
Oh, yes, I did.
Well, who did you check with the dog?
There's a mutual party that was taking care of my wiener dog.
You mean a dachshund?
Yeah.
Why wasn't the dachshund with you?
My husband and I had just gotten married, and we lived in an apartment.
So you couldn't take care of these dogs anyway.
We were in the process of purchasing a house.
So there was a period of time when you could not take care of not only this dog, but you couldn't take care of your little dog because you were in an apartment. Is that right?
Yes.
So get over it. This wasn't a dog that you were attached to. This wasn't a dog that you were responsible for at any time physically. You're just suing her about this dog because you're angry at her.
No, she has no right to take my son's dog. This is about
Well,
my son.
stop worrying about your son. Let your son worry about getting his life together.
Well, he is doing that.
Well, that's good. He's in rehab, and he should worry about taking care of himself, not a 90-pound untrained pit bull.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's cleaning up after not only her daughter, but her daughter and your son. And
She
instead of
has a
suing
restraining
her,
order. She has a restraining order against us.
well, there must be a reason for that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kim Gransberry Conte says the mother of her son's girlfriend, Melody Marine, owes for the return of a pit bull named Samson. Melody claims Kim is angry because she is seeking custody of their granddaughter.
Madam, devote your energies to rehabilitating your son and perhaps engaging your granddaughter in some sort of a relationship before you ruin the relationship that you have totally with this lady who, it appears to me, at least based upon what I read, has filed a petition for custody of the child. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Temporary.
Well, somebody's got to take temporary custody of her.
I have a letter here that clearly shows what Melanie's intent is towards my son and towards me,
So, now let's get to the expenses of the dog that you're talking about on your counterclaim, then I'm going to read the letter. You have a counterclaim because you want the cost of the food, etc., for the dog, is that right?
That would be nice.
Well, it would be nice, but she's not responsible for that. You chose to keep the dog. As far as I'm concerned, you could have given the dog away the day it came into your possession. What happened with your duck?
In the morning when I go out to open up the chicken coop and feed them and let them out for the day, Samson's just charged in before I did and kind of head-butted the duck and smacked his head on the back of the chicken coop, and his eye just gradually swelled and festered and
Well, so
eventually had to be removed.
So that you have to understand that Samson was your responsibility, and if you were in any way negligent in taking care of him that allowed him access to the duck, that's not her fault. Now, well, this certainly is a very angry letter. It's a letter, Miss Marine, that you wrote to Zane, I assume, while he was incarcerated.
Yes.
And let me tell you how I evaluate this letter. Your son and her daughter, who she refers to in this letter as a bunch of miserable dopeheads, she refers to her own daughter that way, created a child that she now has to take care of. You have other children?
My children are grown. I have another grandchild.
How old is your other grandchild?
He'll be 6 next month.
Who does he live with?
His mother.
That's what's supposed to happen. You have children who are in their 20s and 30s, and they choose to have families, and they come and visit every Sunday or every other Sunday, and they spend 2-3 hours, they mess up your house, and then they go home. They don't come to live with you when they're 2 years old. You're having a wonderful time. You got a new husband, you got a new house, you're moving, everything is nice, and she's getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and she's taking care of kids who have the stomach flu and virus and daycare and all this other stuff, because 2 young people who didn't know enough to use adequate protection had a baby and happened to be 2 drug addicts and said, oh, I'm not, but somebody else is going to take care of my problem. So your son, instead of writing from prison and saying to her, thank you for taking care of my child, if there's anything I can do, keep tabs on what it is that you're spending. I can never repay you, but at least I can help when I get out, is very interested in his dog. Who's got my dog, and who's going to take care of my dog, and you've got my dog, and I want my dog back. And she says in the letter, before you ask about your dog, why don't you ask about your daughter, Lark?
Oh, he did.
No.
That's her.
No.
That's her
Much later on in the letter, clearly.
Yeah,
Before
where's
you
the
get
letter?
angry, before you get angry. So your son's clearly got his priorities all screwed up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kim Gransberry Conte says the mother of her son's girlfriend, Melody Marine, owes for the return of a pit bull named Samson. Melody claims Kim is angry because she is seeking custody of their granddaughter.
You have to understand that she's cleaning up after not only her daughter, but her daughter and your son. And
She
instead of
has a
suing
restraining
her,
order. She has a restraining order against us.
well, there must be a reason for that.
I haven't done anything to her.
I have no restraining order.
She said she has
I mean,
no
it hasn't been served. It never got served.
She said she has no restraining order. What I'm telling you is, I think that you should start to mend fences before you build barriers. This lawsuit is a barrier. You have no case anyway, and I think the long-term picture that you should look at is that it's quite probable that this little grandchild is going to require 2 sets of grandparents to help raise her, unless her parents get their acts together. And so far, I see a mother who checked into rehab for 35 days, which isn't enough time. I hope that your son does better in his program, because
He's been
certainly
clean for years.
he probably has a jail term hanging over his head if he doesn't.
Yes.
In any event, you two ladies, if you're smart, are going to get together for the sake of this 22-month-old baby who probably will need you. Your case is dismissed, as is your counterclaim.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I, had hoped that my son would at least get his dog back.
I think that Kim filed the suit because I am seeking temporary custody of my granddaughter.
Oh, no, it's not. Melody thinks she is Saint Melody and thinks that she can just take everybody's stuff and do whatever she wants.
I hope that Kim can follow through with her promise and teach Lark how to crochet and sew, because I know how to cook and garden.
I just wanted to let her know that she's not going to walk all over me, and yes, I am going to watch out for my granddaughter.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Butler versus Owens. Step forward, please.
24-year-old law student Camilla Butler is suing her former roommate, personal banker Nicole Owens, for breaking a lease and unpaid bills. Nicole says she gave Camilla ample notice.
Miss Butler, you and Miss Owens were roommates. You claim she moved out prematurely, owing you 2 months' rent. The 2 months were for the months that you were not going to be there, but you claim an agreement that she would pay rent until the end of May. You also claim she owes some bills. She said she gave you 3 weeks' notice, and she left her $250 security deposit with you. That more than covers any outstanding bills. That's your defense. When did you move in together?
Your Honor, we moved in together on January 22nd. That's when we agreed to move in together over the phone.
Okay. Now, you moved into an apartment that you had or she had, or that was a brand new apartment?
It was a brand new apartment for both of us.
Good. Can I see the lease, please?
Absolutely.
Who found the apartment, Miss Butler?
The defendant and I agreed to move into the apartment one day. Gage and I went up to Long Beach
So you looked at it together for the first time?
we found it separate. I'm sorry, I found it alone.
And you signed the lease alone?
She did not sign the lease, however,
That means that she is not a signatory to the lease. If she did not sign the lease, madam, then she is not responsible under this lease. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
So this is not the lease on the contract that you are suing on. You're suing on a contract that you had with her, according to you, to live in the apartment until the end of May.
That's correct, Your Honor. It was an oral
Good.
agreement.
And may I see that agreement?
It was not in writing, it was oral, Your Honor.
Well, tell me about the oral agreement that you think is binding.
Okay. We agreed orally over the telephone to move in together. We agreed on an apartment together orally, and we agreed orally that she would sign the lease that evening.
But she never did.
That's true. She never did sign the lease.
Okay, Ms. Owens, let me hear what happened on the 22nd of January.
I never said I would move in and stay there until May. I never made an oral agreement that I would sign the lease that night. None of that ever happened.
Well, when she called you, did she tell you how long a lease she had to sign?
It was month to month.
This is a month-to-month lease.
Yes, Your Honor, it is. However, we agreed together, separately, outside of the lease agreement, that we would be living together until May 31st.
She didn't want to live with you after March.
Yes, she did tell me March 10th that she was entertaining the idea of moving out. At that day, we talked about it. I said, that's fine if you want to move out, that's fine with me. However, if you choose to move out, you need to make sure that you find somebody to move in your place.
That's
she
not true.
agreed.
That's not true.
Well,
No, that's not true. Just because you say it doesn't make it true, Ms. Butler. She paid for March's rent, right? You're not responsible for the lease in April or May. You could have given your landlord notice and moved. You chose to stay there.
However, we did agree that we would live together until the end of May.
Listen, people get married and they agree to live together till death do us part. 50% of those people go their own way. Just because you agree doesn't mean that she has to stay there. Now, what about her security deposit?
We haven't gotten the security deposit back since they are, I guess, the landlord is still in the process of cleaning the apartment and, I guess, seeing what needs to be done.
But you had $250 in security deposit?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, what bills do you say she left when she left?
There was a gas bill for February, electric bill for February, garage rental for March, gas bill for March, and also there were 10 days of rent between January 22nd and January 31st, where apparently we didn't pay for it in February, so we had to pay it later, and Nicole never paid that part.
So let me have those figures, please.
Okay. Your Honor, would it be okay for Gage to testify about the conversations he had with Nicole?
Sure. Last name?
Duran.
I'm ready to hear you.
Essentially what happened is Nicole said, I'm just going to leave, and that's the end of the story, and that she gave Camilla her 30 days notice, but the landlord required that 30 days notice.
Well, let me tell you, I've looked over your damages. Your damages, you say, were $1,129.83. If you deduct April's garage rental, because she wasn't there in April, and if you deduct the $850 in rent, comes out to exactly $249, and she's got $250 in security deposit. So really the only issue is it reasonable for Miss Owens to pay you 1 month's rent to have given you a full 30 days notice of her intention to leave? Do you think it was reasonable for you to give her 1 month's notice, 30 days notice?
I didn't even know until 3 weeks prior that I would be moving out.
That's not her fault.
I know.
That's your fault.
Yeah.
That's your fault. And 30 days notice is not unreasonable, because
No,
if she were
it's
to
not.
give the landlord 30 days notice pursuant to the lease, then she could have, I don't care if she went home to live with her mother. I don't care if she went home to live with this guy. I don't care if she goes into a shelter. That's not the issue. The issue is you had to do the right thing and give her 30 days notice, which you didn't do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, I understand that.
So, minimally, you owe her $425, which is your half of the rent for 1 month. And the rest of the bills is more than covered by her security. You left the place pretty clean?
Oh, yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $425. That's all.
Excuse me, step out, please.
Her boyfriend recently totaled her car.
Yale, Ireland are suing Cynthia's former landlord, Sydney Neese, for the return of a security deposit, moving expenses, and damages from an assault.
All rise.
Now, this is case number 40 on the calendar in the matter of Hazeltine, Ireland versus Nice. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Who is Miss Ireland?
I'm Miss Ireland.
Hazelton?
Hazeltine is my mother.
Miss Hazeltine, according to your complaint, you, not your daughter, but you, rented a room from the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And you found that room on something on the internet called Craigslist?
Yes, ma'am.
And signed a month-to-month lease.
I did.
When did you sign that?
March 1st, in 2007.
Where had you been living before that?
I was residing in an apartment which I shared with my daughter, and she decided to move out on her own and get her own apartment. So I thought it would be good for me to move into a place where I could save a little money, maybe meet some new people, until I was able to purchase my own home.
How long had you been renting rooms?
I've been renting rooms for about 4 years.
What kind of property do you have?
I have a home in Elk Grove, California.
How many bedrooms?
5 bedrooms.
How many tenants do you have?
Currently 1.
How many tenants did you have when you had Miss Hazeltine?
Just myself and Cindy.
And it was a month-to-month tenancy?
It was.
It is your claim that Miss Neese terminated your tenancy without proper notice, and you want moving expenses, your security deposit back, and you want damages because you claim, assaulted both you and your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Neese says that you are not entitled to your security deposit back because you promised that you were going to stay through April, and you didn't. It is her claim that you actually assaulted her. So, let's find out when the trouble began. You moved in March 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
About approximately a week after I moved in, I noticed some strange behavior from Miss Neese. When I was in the home alone, and especially when I had company over, I would notice some outbursts. It seems she was talking to herself, kind of laughing out loud. She'd walk through the home when I'd have company over and bang anything that would make noise, opening and closing compulsively the garage door. The washer was close to my room, so she slammed the washer door up and down.
Got it. Let's move on.
Okay. And I became just really uncomfortable in the home. I'd find myself, I'd sign up for overtime, I'd go to the gym, anything to avoid coming home because her behavior was really disturbing and uncomfortable. And so I noticed that it became more obvious when I had company over, so I decided to talk to her about it. So maybe I was doing something wrong. And so I came home, and so I knocked on her door. She didn't answer, so that's when I called her cell phone, and I found that she was actually at home in her room. And she came out, and I had a conversation with her, and I said, is there something bothering you, lately? Because I've noticed that you've been slamming things around, banging things. And her response was, bang? I don't bang. I don't bang anything. I said, oh, okay, well, apparently, when my boyfriend's over, does he make you uncomfortable? No, I don't have a problem with your boyfriend. And I said, well, one night he spent the night here, and it seemed that you were really uncomfortable with that, and that's when I noticed the most noise. She goes, well, I didn't even know he spent the night. And she goes, well, it's in your lease agreement that you can't have any overnight guests. I said, well, I didn't notice that in my lease agreement. I apologize.
Was it in your lease agreement?
It was, ma'am, in my lease agreement.
Okay.
And I said, I respect that. And I said, well, that's something that I'm not sure if I can live with. I apologize. I overlooked that. And I said, if you feel real strong about that, then I think I might have to make a decision to move out. And I would go ahead and give you proper 30-day notice. And she goes, okay, well, that's fine.
Fine. What day was that? That was in
okay,
March?
that was, yes, the 19th of March. I sent her a copy, certified mail, which she...
May I see it, please?
Absolutely. That was sent to regular mail as well as certified mail, which I have a receipt there. Ms. Neese never picked up the certified copy.
Okay, and you received this letter terminating
Yes.
her tenancy?
Yes, I have
Fine.
it right here.
Good. So what happened?
Okay,
What was
so
next?
things were a little still uncomfortable in the house, so I decided to avoid her as much as possible. About a week after giving that notice to her, I came home and found that she was interviewing another tenant, which I gave her the privacy. I had went and cleaned up and got ready to go back out again. She then
You have a turn. Right now, plaintiff is talking.
Okay.
Go ahead.
After I had finished and cleaned up and the person had left, she had come and spoke with me and said, okay, well, when are you going to be moving your furniture out? I understand, I received your 30-day notice. And I go, well, I can start putting it in storage soon if you really need the space, because she was saying that she wanted to offer that space to the tenant. She goes, well, that's your right to keep it there for the remainder of the month. And, things seemed to be okay then, but she was still exhibiting some behaviors that I just didn't feel that.
I understand. You were moving out for a reason. Keep going.
Absolutely. And so I had received a phone call on March 31st. I was at the gym and I received a message from Miss Neese. And the message, she says that she's demanding that she have a face-to-face meeting with me and discuss the 30-day notice agreement and finalize me moving out. And so I was kind of, I didn't understand.
Just tell me what happened.
Okay, so I called her up and I said, I got your message. What's the deal with me having to come over? And she goes, well, I want you to speak to me face to face. I gave you the same respect when you gave me your 30-day notice. And I said, well, I really don't want to have any confrontation with you. You're making me feel really uncomfortable and threatened. She goes, well, if you do not come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. And I said, you can't lock me out. And she goes, I'm telling you, if you don't come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. At that point, she disconnected the phone call. Me and my boyfriend were at the gym. I said, come on with me. She's threatening to lock me out. I need to go home. When we got there, me and my boyfriend entered the home, and Miss Neese was in the kitchen. She had already taken all my groceries out of the fridge and out of the cupboard and had set them up on the counter as if she was moving me out. I said, what are you doing? Please put my things back. You can't move me out. What's the problem? And at that point, she came around the counter of the kitchen with her finger in my face. And she goes, girl, you better shut your mouth, because in the name of Jesus, I'm going to smack the devil out of you. At that point, my boyfriend placed his body in between us because she was this close in my face, and he's that face to me, and he's like trying to block her. And she turned around and she swung about backside of him and hit me upside the head. At that point, I grabbed my cell phone. She grabbed her cell phone. I called the police. She called 911. The police arrived, a female police officer. Police officer went and spoke to Miss Neese. Miss Neese had stated that she was going to be locking me out of the house, and the officer had stated, legally, ma'am, you cannot lock her out of the house. And she goes, don't you tell me how to run my house.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She comes up behind me and kind of hits me. And then Miss Neese turned around to my mom and she goes to make a fist like she was going to strike my mom. And I grabbed her arm and I put it down and I said, don't touch my mom.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cynthia Aseltine and daughter Danielle Ireland claim Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, is guilty of an assault. Sidney claims it was the plaintiffs who assaulted her.
Now, when did the incident happen with your daughter?
Same day.
Same day?
It was a little bit later on that day when I had came. The police officers had actually left at a certain point, and my mother had called my boyfriend and I to show up. She had to go and get a U-Haul to get all of her things, and we both ended up showing up at the exact same time as my mom with the U-Haul, and that's when I arrived.
And what happened with Miss Neese?
Well, we came into the house, and she was in her bedroom, had shut the door, was in her bedroom, like the police officer told her to stay in the room. I went into this little front area that was right next to her bedroom door and started to grab furniture. And I grabbed this big glass top that was to one of my mom's coffee tables, and I started going out. And then Miss Niece came out of her room and was really mad and angry, and was directing a lot of anger at myself and at Ryan, saying that he didn't have any right to be in the house, and that was saying something about how we couldn't go through the garage door. She was telling us we had to go through the front door for some reason, and I was standing on my way to the garage door. She was really like livid and saying that we couldn't be in our house, that we had no right to be in there, and then she comes up behind me and grabs me by the back of my neck and like kind of pushes me and then kind of hits me. And then Miss Niece turned around to my mom and starts getting in her face, and she's throwing her hands wildly and stuff, and then she goes to make a fist like she was going to strike my mom, and I grabbed her arm and I put it down and I said, "Don't touch my mom." And then it just turned into a scuffle where she was just being really wild.
Okay, Ms. Niece, I would like you first to tell me your version of the events of the 31st of March.
Okay, Saturday, March 31st, I initiated a call to Cindy to finalize things in the matter. She had sent me a letter March 20th indicating that she was going to move out at the end of April. And so I wanted to finalize things as far as obtaining the rent for April.
She already told you that she was going to give you the rent April 3rd in the letter.
Right. In my lease, it indicates, in the initial agreement that we signed, it indicates that if any rent is not paid time or in full, that they will forfeit the security. That's in item number 2 in our
What
lease.
difference does that make? She already said, "I'll pay you your rent on April 3rd. It's in her letter that she sent to you.
Because I just like to do things decently and in order, so...
This is decently and in order. You called her on her cell phone.
I called her on Saturday, and I asked, because she had initiated an appointment in mid-March. She wanted to see if her boyfriend could stay overnight, and she knocked on my door. Actually, I was napping, and she knocked on my door until...
Shh, don't interrupt her. I'm just asking you what you told her on March 31st. You called her, she's at the gym.
On March 31st, I asked her if she had any time in the afternoon. I said I'd appreciate if we could finalize things and, get the rent. So then she started cursing at me, and she started getting really violent on the phone and calling me up.
Did you tell her she had to come home or else you were going to change the locks?
No, absolutely not.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator? I'm speaking.
No, I didn't actually.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator and place it on the counter?
No, not...
Did you tell the police when they arrived that you were planning on changing the locks and locking her out?
When she started cursing at me on the phone, because by the way, she's been pretty violent before, so when she came home from the gym, she came home and she kicked me, which I have a photo of the bruise on my leg from when she kicked me then. At that point, I had called the police because I had wanted to have her arrested. So when they came over, they kind of separated us, got both versions of what had happened, and so I didn't have her arrested at that point.
The police found you very agitated, Ms. Niece. According to all 3 police officers who arrived at the scene...
Well, she assaulted me. I have pictures. She admitted biting me on the arm.
There was an altercation. There's no question there was an altercation.
Well, I actually didn't touch her or her daughter. Both of them came home. She called her daughter, and they both came in, and then they assaulted me in my room. And that's why I had called the police a second time. When I was on the phone with the police, I was terrified. They said, "Where are you?" I said, "I locked myself in my room," because I was afraid they were going to come in again. I have pictures of the door and from when they tried to barge in my door. And I have pictures of all the bruises. They hit me.
What do you do for a living, Miss Niece?
I'm an insurance broker.
For a company?
For myself. I have my own agency. And I'm going to school for court reporting.
So you operate out of your home or out of an office?
I'm usually on the road, but my office is out of my home, yes.
So you don't have an office other than at your home?
Correct.
And how long have you been doing that?
5 years.
You make a living at that?
Yes.
The last time you had a tenant prior to the plaintiff, what was that tenant's name?
Prior to Cynthia? She was the first tenant in that home.
So you'd never had a tenant?
Not in this home. When I was in the Bay Area, I've had tenants. She was the first tenant in this home.
Judge, I have some information regarding the tenants in the Bay Area. San Mateo County Court, there's 3 claims regarding Ms. Niece in regards to tenant-landlord. 2 times she was a defendant, and 1 she was a plaintiff regarding the same situation, withholding deposits,
Can I see
and so
that?
forth. Actually, I didn't print it out, but if you go to San Mateo County Court, it is public record.
You had 3 landlord and tenant actions while you were there? One as a plaintiff and 1 as a defendant?
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but it was just probably a lack of, my income. But with regard to
No,
this...
I'm not talking about... I'm asking you whether you had 3 previous landlord and tenant actions.
I think there was 1, and it was just because I was having problems, with cash flow, but they have since been paid back.
When was that she put a stop pay on a deposit as a tenant herself?
That sound familiar?
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but I would appreciate if we could talk about this case today and why, I don't believe that I owe her the security deposit.
You absolutely owe the security deposit. There's no question that you owe her the security deposit. You
Okay.
told her to leave. I've read the police report. You said you wanted her out that day. She left. She did not stay the month of April, despite the fact that she said she was planning on paying April's rent. You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question about that.
Well, because she assaulted me and I had to put out expense. She didn't return the key when she moved out.
I believe that this was an unfortunate circumstance, that everybody's tempers got very flared up.
Actually,
on that.
mine did not.
Well, not according
And I
to
was
Miss
blatantly
Neese. According to the police, the only
person
person
assaulted by her and her
Miss
daughter,
Neese,
and her boyfriend had
I'm
to pull
telling
them
you,
off of me.
and the police
And
department.
when
I'm
she
speaking.
moved
When I'm
out-
speaking, don't speak.
Okay.
Clearly, not only did you claim that they were assaulted, you
I have
also. I'm
photographs of all
speaking.
the
I'm
assaults.
speaking. Do you hear me speaking? You also claim conspiratorial behavior on the part of the police. You weren't satisfied with the police officer who came. You demanded their supervisor. 2 supervisors arrived. They couldn't calm you down. You demanded their supervisor. So everybody is in a conspiracy against you. There's something not right, Ms. Neese. All of that is clearly contained in the police report. I assume you have a copy of it.
The copy that I obtained from them does not contain that information. That's not what they had given me. They
May
gave
not
me
be what
one
they
line.
gave you, but that's what I have.
Okay, can I show you the pictures of my bruise?
Absolutely.
And actually, I still have them on my body.
Absolutely. Show me.
This is a picture of when she bit me in the arm.
She absolutely acknowledges that she
And
bit you
then,
in the arm, and she
a
says she
bruise
bit you.
on my
I'm
breast.
speaking. Don't you want to hear me speaking? She absolutely acknowledges that she bit you in the arm so that you would let her go.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay, can I tell my version of the story, ma'am?
When I contact the police department.
What had transpired, basically, the whole issue, when she first, in the initial ad, I indicated no alcohol, no overnight guests, and she breached both of those. She was drinking a lot while she was there, and she was having overnight guests, her boyfriend. And I never even said anything because I didn't want to get into any confrontation. But then she mentioned, she talked to me that one day, and I said, no overnight guests. Are you okay with that?
So she gave you
said,
notice.
yes.
And listen, I got it. I have other things to do today. She said, I'm moving. She sent you an appropriate notice that she's moving. Move on with it. Get to the 31st.
Right, but then she didn't pay the rent, and so I wanted
No. She has no obligation to pay the rent on March 31st. None. And if you demanded that she come home from the gym...
I didn't demand that she came home. I called her on the cell phone, and I said, do you have any time this afternoon? What's your availability?
I don't think you should have roommates. I don't think you should rent rooms to anybody. I don't. I think that you are a very, very nice lady who clearly should live alone, not with anybody else, because you can't make rules for adults. I mean, she's an adult lady. She's not a teenager. You didn't rent to a teenager. And if you don't like other people living in your house because other people aren't going to do things the way you do,
well, it's not that I want to do things the way I want to do. But when I rented
a room,
they said no overnight guests. When
absolutely
I rented, they
right.
set their
And she
guidelines,
said I didn't.
and I honored them. So if she didn't want to.
Do you take medication? Do you take medication?
No, ma'am.
You should. Because I've already told you 4 times, this is the 4th time, that when I start to speak, you have to stop.
Okay.
You can't. That's something that's not working right. You owe her security deposit, which was how much?
It's $500.
Did either of you seek any medical treatment for your injuries?
No,
yes, I did.
I'm not talking about you. Now, where did you move when you moved?
I was actually homeless for 8 days. I was allowed to stay at my boyfriend is roommate with another roommate, and he was out of town.
That's fine. Don't make up things as we go along. You weren't homeless because you were able to sleep someplace.
Well, yes. I mean, I was without a permanent...
Fine, and then you found someplace.
Yes.
Perfect. Whole thing is very, very unfortunate. Really, very unfortunate. You want to say anything to me? No. You want your security deposit back?
Absolutely.
You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Why did that excuse me step out?
I was blatantly assaulted by her. I think it's really sad that, she got away with it.
It's just...
Friend, 23-year-old patient care specialist Jennifer Aguilar for money he paid to bail her out of jail.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 430 on the calendar in the matter of Williams versus Aguilar. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Williams, according to your complaint, you and the defendant had sort of an off-again, on-again relationship for about 5 years.
Right, correct.
And sometime in September of 2000, the defendant was arrested. And you posted bail for her in the amount of $245.
Correct.
And you want her to pay back the bail money.
Right.
The defendant says she never asked you to post the bail for her. How were you contacted and advised that she had been arrested?
Well, like I said, off and on since '96. Me and Miss
Sorry,
Aguilar.
just a second. Very slowly, and speak up, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. We had like a little relationship going at that time, and then she came to me with her problems, and she said she'd been in jail, and I said, I'd like to
know what's the problem was, and she was telling me that she'd been in jail, she hated it, she was there for a while. So then I said, well, okay, if you get in trouble like that again, you could just go ahead and just call me. You know, I'll post bail for you, only if you pay me back. So,
Baloney! What kind of ridiculousness is that, Mr. Williams?
I never.
Just a second. Mr. Williams, you're going to tell me the truth.
Yeah,
You can't give me a baloney story.
Well-
According to the story you just gave me, you were in a relationship, she told you she had been in trouble before, she told you she had been in jail before, and you said to her, and she wasn't in jail at the time, you were sitting talking in your living room. If you ever get into trouble like that again, you call me and tell me, and I will post bail for you as long as you pay me back.
Right before that, yes.
Mr. Williams.
No, I'm sorry, I said I'll post, her bail. No, I'll bail her out of jail if she get in a problem like that again. Before that, her friend called me telling me that she was in
Just
jail.
a minute. Let's get the time she was arrested, Mr. Williams. She was arrested. Who called you?
Her friend Alexis.
What did her friend say to you?
Well, she told me that Jennifer was in jail and she wanted me to post bail for her.
For Jennifer?
Right.
And you said?
And I said, only if she paid me back. And she said, yes, she would pay me back. She would come to work the next day and give me the money. So I was like, okay, cool.
So you went and you posted bail?
Posted her bail. Right.
When was the next time you saw her?
Next time I seen her was in 2000. I think it was in July when she was pregnant with my baby. That's what she said.
So you didn't see her the next day?
No.
Or the day after that?
No.
Or the month after that?
No.
You didn't see her for 10 months, right?
No. The next time I seen her, I just heard that she was pregnant with my baby. So.
And how did that come about?
She was pregnant at this time, and like I said, we had an on and off relationship.
So the next time you saw her, you found out that she had just had a baby?
Right. And she don't let me see her or nothing like that.
Your Honor, that's
just a lie. All right, so now you want your bail money back.
Not just that, but I want visitation rights. I want to see, Zara. I only seen her just only 4 times throughout all of this.
All right, well, I'll get to that in a second.
2000.
Alexis asked him to post bail for you. What were you incarcerated for?
In September 2000, I had a domestic violence case, which then I had a warrant at the same time.
You were arrested for domestic violence and another warrant dropped on you.
Correct.
Domestic violence involving who?
My other partner, which was Alma.
Who?
It's another female.
Now, who is Alexis?
Well, Alexis is Alma. It's the same person.
So Alexis complained that you had assaulted her, and after you were taken away and arrested, Alexis called him and asked him to bail you out.
Apparently that's the way it happened. I didn't know that she was going to go look for him and tell him that I was in jail. I was in jail. I ended up getting posted out, which was
great. And then you never asked Alexis, how did your bail get posted?
No.
No, answer me honestly. Shh. Mr. Williams.
At that time, at the time that I got bailed, I was speaking to my mom on the phone and stuff to see if they could get me out. I was under the circumstances that I wasn't going to get out, so I thought I was going to stay in there until I seen the
Miss
magistrate.
Aguilar, I want you to pay careful attention to my question. When you get bailed out, you see Alexis. A natural question is, did you post the bail for me? That would be what a normal person would say. You're not an abnormal person, are you?
No.
So you would say, who posted the bail for me? And Alexis told you who posted the bail for you.
Yes, she did.
Of course. And what did she say?
She told me that she had gotten a hold of Dontriel and that he had offered to get me out of jail.
Oh, fine. That's honest.
Yes.
Don't give me baloney about calling your mother and asking your mother and you don't know. That's an honest scenario of what happens.
Correct.
You get out, you say, who posted this bail? Who sprung me?
Correct.
Alexis said, he did.
Correct.
Now, you were pregnant when you went to jail?
At that time in September, I didn't know that I was
I
pregnant.
didn't ask you whether you didn't know. I asked you, were you pregnant at that time?
Yes, I was.
And you've had a child?
Yes, I have.
A boy or a girl?
A girl. She's 9 months now.
Now, there came a time, according to the papers that I read, that you contacted Mr. Williams and told him that it was his child.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Because I should have done it earlier, but at the time before I had her, I wasn't sure with myself if I was going to be able to raise her right. So I wasn't sure of keeping her.
So you decided not to tell him?
Exactly.
Yeah.
3 months after I had her, we met. I let him know that he can see her anytime. I've given him that opportunity.
No, that's not
correct. It worked. He's seen her a few times, and then supposedly his stepdad told him that it was all about the money, that the baby wasn't his or something. And so then at that time, he verbally gave up his rights to her. And then he asked for a blood test.
Verbally? How verbally did he give up his rights to her?
He didn't believe it was his, and he didn't want nothing to do with her.
No. He asked for a blood test. Right.
Okay. My partner and him went to the place to go get a blood test done. They couldn't get the baby, her poke very well. She was still little, and it's hard to get pokes on babies. So they stopped it. They didn't pursue it. I then told him, If she comes back negative and she's not his, I'll pay for it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dontrell Williams says ex-girlfriend Jennifer Aguilar owes for an unpaid loan for bail.
All right, Mr. Williams, with regard to your lawsuit, you never had an agreement with the defendant to pay you back the money for bail. Your agreement, if there was any agreement, and I don't think there was with this Alexis person. In order for there to be a debt created, you have to have an arrangement with the person who you claim owes you the money. You had no agreement with her, so I can't give you your $245 back. If Alexis promised to pay you back the money, go after Alexis. And Alexis may then, I'm speaking, and Alexis may then go after the defendant. But you never had an agreement with her to pay you back. So that takes care of that. But I'm going to give you some advice now. If you are legitimately interested in pursuing a relationship as the father of this child, then what you do is you have to go to court and you file a petition to be legally declared the father of this child, and you ask for a blood test.
I was trying to do that, but she would never give me the opportunity.
She doesn't give you the opportunity, sir.
She never let me see the girl. So.
No, Mr. Williams, you're fighting me, sir. I'm telling you that in order to establish rights, your right, under the law, you have to go to court and be legally declared the father of the child. You're fading off, sir.
Okay.
Pay attention to me. This is the most expensive advice you're going to get for free. Do you understand? You go to court. They will direct a blood test. You will have to pay for the blood test. She will be ordered to produce the child for the blood test. That will establish once and for all whether or not you are the father of this child.
Sorry.
Then they will decide what kind of either custody or visitation you should have, and they will fix a support order so that you can help support your daughter. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's what you have to do. That way you don't have to rely on her saying, well, today you can see her and tomorrow you can't. That way you have an order.
She moved by every 6 months, so I can never really catch up with her.
Well, you know where she is now, sir.
No, I don't.
Where are you now?
I'm in Greeley.
It's the same place he lives.
I got evicted because...
Where are you now?
18th Street.
So then I would very, very quickly, Mr. Williams, go to court. You serve her with the summons. You'll take your daughter for the blood test, correct?
I have no problem taking her.
Good. And then everybody will have their rights outlined. Do you understand, Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Goodbye.
Why is that excuse when they step out?
You just gotta watch who you trust.
I think it was fair.
I feel like I was taking advantage. She deceived me over the years, saying that, this and that.
He knows I'm in another relationship and we will never work.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Luff versus Barker. Step forward, please.
27-year-old homemaker Jennifer Luff is suing her second cousin, truck driver David Barker, and his wife Margaret Barker for the return of her great-grandfather's trailer. The Barkers have a countersuit for storage fees.
Miss Luff, it is your claim that a trailer that is currently on the defendant's property belongs to you and you want it back.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendants say that if you can prove that the trailer is yours, they will return it to you, and then they are counterclaiming for $900 in storage fees that they feel is proper for storing this trailer if it belongs to you. Are you related to each other?
Yes.
How are you related?
David is my mother's cousin.
Okay. Where did this trailer come from?
It was bought from my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and it was placed on the defendant's property because
It was bought for your great-grandfather?
Yes.
By whom?
By my son's father, my uncle, and my sister's ex-husband.
When did they purchase it for him?
I'm not sure.
When did it come onto your property?
99.
It was July of 1999.
How did it come to be on your property?
My grandfather had his own house in Lake County, and we talked him into, when my grandmother died, my cousin and everybody pitched in and bought the trailer so he could be closer to us.
When did he pass away?
In November of 1999.
What makes you think this trailer belongs to you?
Because I spoke with my uncle, who had part in buying it, my son's father, and my sister's ex-husband, and they gave it over to me. I have the title in my name. They gave it over to me.
Let me see it.
To sell it because my son's father gave me his share in it, and my uncle does not live here. So they gave it to me to sell, and I have to give them shares.
In whose name had the trailer been in?
The people who originally owned it, my sister's ex-husband had it.
4 people?
It had never been in their names, though. It was never switched over.
How did you register this?
I just took the title down there that they had signed.
Well, let me see.
I don't have that. I gave it to the tag office, and then I signed the title, and they sent that back to me.
Did you show this to the defendants?
No, I did not, because at the time I had only been given a receipt of change of title, and I showed that to the defendants when I tried to go get the travel trailer.
Okay, would you show this to the defendants, please?
Can I explain now pretty much?
No,
what-
just,
okay.
I want you to look at that. Okay. So this clearly is a deed to that trailer.
I guess so.
Okay. Now,
We
so
were
now
never
I'll let
showed
you,
that.
now tell me.
Okay, pretty much what happened was, like she said, we moved the trailer on our property of July of 1999. Grandpa passed away of November of 1999. The trailer was on our property for almost 2 years without anybody coming over and saying they want this trailer or anything. June of 2000, her boyfriend, it's the father of one of her children, borrowed my son's car and he got into an accident with it. He smashed it up. He totaled out my son's car. I put a judgment against him, which I have papers that I settled the judgment with him. Ever since then, we've been harassed from the trailer.
Go ahead.
When I sued her boyfriend, that was it. She was harassing us, making threats to us.
She wants the trailer.
Exactly.
So give her the trailer. She's a registered owner of the trailer.
But she never claimed it 2 years before that. That's what I'm saying.
That may be. That may be. And I don't know what took her so long, quite
Can I
frankly.
explain why?
If you must.
What took so long is because about a month after my grandfather died, my cousin, David's son, came to me and said that he had nowhere to stay and could he stay in the trailer. That's the only reason it hasn't been moved in all this time, because he was staying there and paying them $75 a week. That's why I didn't think I owed them storage.
When was this title turned over to you?
The date?
Not until after...
Just a minute.
It didn't have anything to do with the accident.
September of 2001.
Okay, which is when about a month after my sister moved in with me.
The date of issue, September of 2001. Prior to that, it was titled to some mother relative.
No, it was titled to the original owners were not a relative.
They promised to put it in my grandfather's
No,
name.
we never promised
and they
that.
never did. Yes,
We
they
never
did.
promised
Just
that.
a second. But it was titled to somebody else.
Right.
Nobody ever put their name in it. My sister's ex-husband just had an open title in his safe and had never changed the title over. So when he gave it to me, I changed it over right away. I put it in my name.
Drug addicts
Just a second. Did they have a bill of sale from the owner?
Yes, they did.
Where is it?
That's at home. I did not bring that.
Shady.
So whose name did you put on these documents that enabled them to give you this certificate of title?
They had already signed the title over to me. It was an old title. They had signed the back of the title.
Who had signed it?
The original owners.
When did they sign it?
They signed it when it was first purchased.
I see. So they just signed it over to...
Yes, and nobody ever signed purchaser.
Anybody could put their name on it. That's right. And they told you you could put your name on it.
Yes, my
And title
brother-in-law, it was in his possession and he gave it over to me.
Okay. Now, she has a certificate of title that on its face is valid. She is entitled to it. She did not become entitled to it until September of 2001 on the date the title was issued. Do you understand that? We're clear so far?
Yes.
After September of 2001, did you make any claim for storage of the trailer?
Yes, I did.
When?
I filed a countersuit on her, but it wasn't. It was on.
It was after they got my
It was
suit.
right.
No, I'm talking about before that.
No.
Before you got this lawsuit, the papers for this lawsuit served on you, did you ever say,
No.
look,
No, we
Yeah,
didn't.
we
unless you
have-
get this trailer off my property,
Right. But I talked to her on September 3rd because she'd been threatening my wife, telling other neighbors that she was going to take her glasses off and smack her. And she said that she was going to sell the trailer to some guy and take payments for $2,500. And I told her that I feel that everybody that put money in that trailer should get money out of it. I told her, I said, I know somebody would give $3,000 at least and give you cash. The next day, I went to work and she comes there to take the trailer off the
It
property
was on Friday, September 5th.
with me not there.
At 5 p.m. That was her first and one and only attempt to try to retrieve the trailer off of our property. No warning. I've come to get my trailer. And I said, no, you're not. My daughter was a witness. My girlfriend was a witness saying
It's
that.
not necessary.
Right.
Look.
Well, just to say that I did tell her when she can make it convenient for everybody, you can come back and get the trailer.
this is just clearly an issue of title. And I must go based upon the title.
Right.
The title to this trailer
understand.
rests in her.
That's Right. fine.
She has to get it off your property.
Right.
She has 5 days to get it off your property.
Okay, well, I have pictures here to show that it's difficult just to yank this trailer off of our property. That was the other issue that occurred on September 5th, is because it's not that easy just to come in there and we have to make an arrangement. You can't just come in there and hook up this trailer and go down the road with it.
No, so we're going to fix a date.
Okay, well,
What date do you want them to come and move the trailer?
Well, he's going back on the road to go back to work pretty soon.
You want to do it Thursday or Friday?
Friday.
All right, the court will draft an order indicating that on Friday, at 12 noon, the trailer will be moved off the property. Understood?
Yes,
Your counterclaim is dismissed because there has to be an agreement for storage.
Suing former landlord, 52-year-old daycare provider, Nicole Zimius, for the return of rent. Karina says Nicole assaulted her with Tupperware and then kicked her out.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 184 on the calendar in the matter of Roy versus Zemias. Party, you're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Ms. Roy, according to your complaint, you rented a room in defendant's home.
Yes,
When did you rent the room?
from January until May.
And what was your monthly rent?
$500.
According to your complaint, there came a time sometime in, was it May that you had an argument?
Early June.
So you stayed there till June?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was to
You stayed there till June?
Mm-hmm.
You had an argument over Tupperware.
Yes.
As a result of that argument, you say you were assaulted, given an eviction notice, forced to move. You want the defendant to pay you for the assault, pro rata for the rent, because you'd already paid June's rent, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Your moving expenses, told you wanted to pay $1,543. So let's take it from. When in June did you have this argument?
June 6th.
Tell me about the argument.
Well, the morning of June 6th, I woke up and I had been looking for my Tupperware throughout that week. And
What Tupperware?
This Tupperware right here.
Those two pieces?
Yes. So throughout the week and in the morning before work and everything, that's when I had time to ask her. So on June 6th, I knocked on her door and she said, come on in. And I said, hey, Nicole, have you seen my Tupperware? And she said, no, and went on into, Karina, I need to stop condensing your food down into smaller containers in the refrigerator. And this was the third time that I had asked her for my Tupperware, and she was changing the subject when 2 other times I wasn't getting direct answers, and where she was directing me, they weren't there. Like the first time I asked her.
I'm not interested.
Okay.
Just get to the
So
point.
I said, look, if I don't get my Tupperware back, I'll just take it off my rent. And she said, well, don't you dare! And she threw her blankets off her, which every morning.
Just a second, are you telling me you went into her bedroom?
Yes.
Let me finish my question. You went into her bedroom to ask for those 2 pieces of Tupperware?
Yes, for the
And
first-
she was in bed?
Yes.
Go ahead. So she threw her blankets off.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
But, every other
Just answer the question. Tell me, she threw her blankets off and said what?
Don't you dare, and she threw her blankets off and she ran to the door and slammed it open. She said, I ate it! And she stormed into the kitchen. And I followed her, and she opened her Tupperware cupboard and forced all of her Tupperware on me like that.
Let me explain something to you. Don't get dramatic with me. Okay, go ahead. So she...
And threw all of her Tupperware on me.
She didn't throw all of her Tupperware on you.
Yes, she did. Yes,
How did
she did.
Miss Roy, you're standing there, so what you telling me? She took out each piece of Tupperware from the cupboard and threw it at you?
No, she has a Tupperware cupboard, and she put her arm on one end of that Tupperware cupboard, and with all of her force, threw it on me, and I was standing behind her, and it landed on me.
Is that the assault you're talking about?
No, and there was one other.
No. Is that the assault that you're talking about?
That's one of them, yes.
And when was the other one?
Then she kept standing there and screaming, how dare you, and don't you dare, don't you even dare, Karina, shame on you, shame on you.
Listen to me.
Like this.
I hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, this is what she was yelling at me.
Go ahead.
And I said, Nicole, you said you were going to take care of my Tupperware, and and on Sunday your maid came, and I haven't seen him since. And she said, there's your answer, Karina. Look in that cupboard there. Look in that one. And I go over there, and I open it up, and it's kind of on the ground, so I kneel down, and there's my Tupperware, and I grab it. And when I'm down, she's leaning her whole body into me, pointing her finger in my face. How dare you? Don't you even dare. Shame on you. That's it. I want you out of here. And she hit my head with her finger. She had all of her weight on me.
Next. So what happened next?
So then I got up and I'm just backing away. I'm walking out of the kitchen, and she threw her hand up. Damn you, how can you do this? And that's it, Karina, I want you out of here in 30 days. And I'm standing there, and we're standing in front of Anna now, okay? And I said, good. And Anna stood up and said, hey, and looking directly at me, and said, hey, the babies, as she's looking at me. And I had not said anything through this whole entire time.
What did she say?
The babies. The babies.
Hey! Quiet. What happened next?
Well,
You went to work.
as Anna was
You
saying-
went to work?
Yeah, I went to work.
And what happened when you came home from work?
There was a letter in my room.
And what did the letter say?
It said, because of your histrionics and verbal assault this morning, Anna and I agreed that for the sake of the daycare children, you are to leave the premises as soon as possible. I am hereby giving you a 14-day notice.
Okay. You don't deny writing that? No? No. Good. Okay. Where did you come to a 14-day notice?
In my contract, Your Honor, I have it's a month-to-month lease.
Yeah, so there's usually a 30-day notice.
Right, and because of the daycare, should there be any behavioral or safety issue, I exercise the right to use the 14-day. And also the tenant.
Is there a notice in your agreement giving you the right for a 14-day notice?
Yes.
Let me see it.
Yes, it's right here. And,
Can I see it?
Yes. Good. There's also a 48-hour, but that's for something more serious like underage drinking.
Let me just see.
In my home.
Okay, with at least 14 days notice given and acknowledged in writing by both parties. Okay, so you gave her a 14-day notice.
My assistant and I decided. Okay.
So that's on the 6th? When did you move out?
Moved out on the 9th.
30 days, half September, April, June, and November. So what we're talking about is 21 days. Is that right?
No, so I had paid June's rent on May 21st to stay till June 21st.
Oh, okay, so that means that you're only entitled to 12 days.
Yes.
You have a problem with giving her her prorated rent?
I do, Your Honor, because I gave her the 14-day notice.
She moved out before.
And she had announced to me that she would be moving out the following Saturday, which was in a couple of days. And my exact words were, Karina, you're free to move whenever you want, but the room is yours until the 21st.
That's just because you say so.
And
listen to me. Just because you say so doesn't mean that that's so. You gave her a 14-day notice, right? Because you say there was some egregious reason why you gave her short notice. If she decides not to stay there until that time, that's her prerogative. You have to give her her prorated rent back.
But, Your Honor, the problem is, although she physically moved out, her property was still in the room.
All of her?
Absolutely. No, not all of her property.
What?
The day after she moved, she said she
What
needed
was in?
to bring her answer machine in because her phone...
What was in?
Well, there was a lamp, a pole lamp, and then her ashtray, and she said Saturday night when she moved out, I'm really tired, my ashtray is in there, I didn't even wash it, I'll get back to it later. And I did not even go into the room to clean or anything. When I did go after the 20th, when she got her security deposit back, then I went in there, and these two items were in the closet still.
Is that the other items?
The lamp, she had said when she was moving, she said, you can either give this away or throw it away.
And you should have done that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karina Roy says former landlord Nicole Zimius assaulted her with Tupperware.
Okay, what items do you think suggest that she still occupied the room? The teddy bear in the cup?
Well,
she listen to me. Speak.
The lamp.
The lamp she told you to get rid of.
The ashtray, and these two things. With the kind of ups and downs that we've had in her stay, I was not about to even go into the room, and I didn't.
That's fine. That's your prerogative. You did, you didn't. I don't care whether you did or whether you didn't. Clearly, you gave her a notice because you didn't want her around. You felt as if you wanted to give her 2 weeks to get out. That's fine. I find that she elected to move out before. I believe she's entitled to do that. She doesn't want to be there if you don't want her there. She moved out. She gets her portion of the rent back that she paid, because I don't consider that, a cup and her teddy bear, leaving property in the house so that you couldn't rent the room again if you wanted to. All right. Now next, you want her to pay your moving expenses. Is that right?
Yes.
Wrong. So we've just dealt with that. You don't get your moving expenses. Now, damages due to the assault. I'm prepared to hear you if you want to tell me what your damages were as a result of the assault.
Because of this, I mean, the way I physically felt, okay, was just like somebody just ripped I just felt hollow in here. I mean, I did not feel stable at all. My driving
You're not stable. Anybody that walks into a bedroom, somebody sleeping in their bed, to ask for 2 pieces of Tupperware and start an argument with them while they're in bed over 2 pieces of Tupperware isn't too stable.
Okay.
To start with.
Well, because
$500 divided by 30 equals $16.66. Clear that?
Yeah, just multiply.
What?
Just multiply.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm learning how to use this machine.
Okay, I'm trying to tell you.
Just a minute. Times 12 equals $199.92. That you are entitled to. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $199.92. Thank you. You want to give her back the bear?
Certainly.
Perfect. Where would you take care of the bear in the cup?
Sure. Parties are excused. You may step out.
She fought with all the tenants. She fought with me. She fought with my 2 sons who don't even live there anymore.
Absolutely not. I'm such a meek, shy person. I bowed down to them and I stayed out of their way.
And now the next case.
All parties on Habib versus Fields. Step forward, please.
27-year-old tutor Nafisa Habib is suing her ex-boyfriend's friend, 28-year-old bakery worker Anise Fields, for smashing her windshield with a baseball bat.
Ms. Habib, both you and the defendant have a child.
Yes.
And that child was fathered by the same person?
Yes.
So that's how you know each other?
Yes, ma'am.
And I would assume that you don't like each other?
I have no problem with that.
Well, then you think she doesn't like you?
I guess, yes.
Because it's your claim that she smashed the windshield of your car.
Yes, ma'am.
When did this take place?
January 12, 2001.
Where?
His uncle's house, where he was staying there at the time.
This is the father?
Yes.
Of both children?
Yes, ma'am.
You have any other children?
Yes, I do.
How many?
4.
4 other ones?
4 children altogether.
Altogether. How old is your child?
My child is 3.
And yours?
He's 3. My child's 1 month older than her son.
Tell me how it happened that you happened to be in the same location.
January 12th, he called me and asked me to bring over my daughter. He doesn't see her a lot, so I brought her over.
To where he was staying?
Yes. While we were there, I was downstairs in like the lounge area in the basement, and he was upstairs. And I heard some banging on the door. I thought he had locked himself outside the house. So I called upstairs, Rude Boy, did you lock yourself outside?
What's his name?
Rude Boy. By that time, he came downstairs. He said, Anise is outside.
Anise?
Yes.
That's you?
Me. I said, are you gonna let her in? He said, no, she's upset. She's gonna wanna fight. I said, fight who? That's when she busted the basement window. She had a bat in her hand, and I saw her. Rude Boy ran upstairs. I stayed downstairs. They were outside. I heard her yelling, what do you think, I'm stupid? Is she in there? Is she in there? I heard him yelling. He said, I'm gonna call the police. He came in the house. Apparently she left. He came downstairs. He didn't call the police. We started cleaning up the glass. At that time, I said, Rude Boy, let me drop you off at work. When I went to my car, opened my door, I saw the glass on my seat and saw she bust my windshield. I switched cars with my father and I went to her house. She invited me in. We talked for a while. The end result of the conversation was that Anise said she was going to pay for my windshield when she got her school money because she didn't have any money at the time. The very next day, after Anise busted my windshield, she called me and she apologized continuously. Nafisa, I'm sorry, this is not me. I don't go around busting girls' windshields. I felt sorry for Anise because I know how it is for a brother to allow you to believe that it's all about you and it's not all about you. So I felt sorry for her. I said, no problem, Anise, when you get the money.
So, bottom line is, you saw her with the bat break the basement window.
Yes.
But not your car window.
No.
But she did in fact tell you that she would pay for it. Okay, let me hear you.
She's lying. Basically.
Why don't you just tell me what happened? You went over
I wasn't there. No, I was not there. No.
Just a second. Are you telling me that you never went to the house?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
I think you have to come up with a better story than that. I'm going to tell you why. Because I believe her when she says that you came to the house. Mm-hmm. I believe her when she says that she saw you with a bat in your hand and that there was glass downstairs in the basement window. So I think we're going to start over again.
She's lying. He lives there. So he was there. So he can tell you. I was not there.
All right.
She's lying. I don't know. My basement window never got broke. I don't know how you can see somebody break the basement window from the basement. I don't know what she's talking about. Prior to this, she said I broke her window, busted her car up. She told my grandmother I did it. She let a friend of mine use her car. He crashed her car. She said I did it. I don't know nothing about what this is about.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, Miss Judy, Judge Judy. I'm trying to be calm because I want to cry because I cannot believe that Jamar would sit up here and lie. He was supposed to watch Hanifa, but he said that he couldn't watch her. I didn't even know he was going to be here. Boy, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Shh. Don't talk to him. Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Judge Judy, he also told me, Rude Boy himself told me that Anise had intention several times to pay you for your car windshield, but things that came up. When I went to her house, I met her mother, I met her daughter, Asia.
You brought your daughter
I
to
met
the
her
house.
son.
Okay, just a minute. Wait.
Oh, God.
I can't believe you, Rude Boy.
I can't believe you.
Oh, it's over.
Never was anything.
Whatever, Rude Boy, whatever.
If you talk amongst yourselves, you're leaving.
Excuse me.
Tell me why you reported this to the police 2 days later.
Well, I believed in when she said she was going to pay me for the windshield, and when she called me the very next day after it happened, I believed her. I believed her. My father said, Nafisa, cover your tracks. If you get a police report, then at least you have that in case you have to take her to court. I did not believe it was going to have to go this far. It's only $183. I'm not asking her for cab money or the inconvenience she put me. My sister had to come and get me several times to pick up my children. I work 2 jobs. I raised 4 children by myself. I don't have time for this. This is so juvenile.
Mr. Jones, do you currently have a relationship with any of the 3 or 4 women?
This one here.
No, he doesn't. I'm sorry.
No.
I apologize.
No.
I'm sorry.
So you currently have a relationship with Anise?
Yes.
How long have you had that relationship with Anise?
Since last year, we started dating each other and being in a relationship last summer.
How many children do you two have together?
1.
Your other 2 children, do they have the same mother?
No.
What do you do for a living?
My teacher aide, bus aide.
Nothing. Shh. I'm sorry. I apologize. He's lying. I'm sorry.
Well, how was she taking me to work if she came over?
Just listen to me.
She's making up stuff.
I'm sorry. I understand. I apologize.
Teachers' aid, bus aides don't
Yes.
make a lot of money.
Small money.
Small money doesn't make 4 children.
No, I make 4 children, but my money take care of my children.
Impossible. Impossible. Okay. Do you work, Anise?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at a bakery.
How many children do you have?
5.
Do all 5 children live with you?
Yes.
You make a lot of money in the bakery?
No, I don't. I also go to school.
How is your family subsidized?
From me working and going to school.
How much money do you make at the bakery?
I make $5.50 an hour.
$5.50 an hour gross does not support 6 people, and he certainly doesn't make enough to support you and your children. What kind of work do you do?
I tutor children full-time, and I work at a floral shop part-time.
How many children do you have?
4.
What other support do you get for your children?
I receive food stamps, and that helps a great deal.
How old are your other children, Mr. Jones?
10, 2.
So you have a new child, not with either one of these 2 women.
Yes.
And shortly after that child was born, you renewed your relationship with a niece. Is that right?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Shh. $183 is what the windshield cost you?
Yes, ma'am.
Pay $183. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I have no beef with a niece.
Stealing her dog. Cynthia is countersuing, claiming Elizabeth filed a false report with Child Services.
Order. All rise.
Yes, it's case number 56 on the calendar in the matter of Ellison versus West. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Ellison, you and Miss West were friends.
Yes.
Your complaint states that you had an argument over something.
The children.
And subsequently you were receiving some harassing calls. You decided that you needed some protection, so you got a dog.
Yes.
It is your claim that the defendant, in retaliation for something, enticed the dog onto her property and subsequently adopted the dog. You want the dog returned to you?
Correct.
Or its value?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you lived in the same neighborhood?
About 1.5 years, 2 years.
Is that how you know her, from the neighborhood?
Yes.
When did you get the dog?
The 15th of March.
Where did you get the dog?
I used to be a dog groomer by trade, and one of my former customers asked me to take her because her daughter had very severe allergies. I had to get rid of the animals, unfortunately.
What kind of dog is it?
She's a Dalmatian Black Lab mix.
She's a mutt?
Yes.
So you took the dog?
Yes.
Didn't pay for the dog, but you
No,
took the
ma'am.
dog. Where did you put the dog when you brought the dog home?
We tied the dog outside in the front because we were having a lot of harassment problems.
Is it a fenced yard?
Not in the front, no.
What was she tied with?
She was tied with a brand new chain and collar and that we bought her before we bought.
Did the dog have a license on the collar?
No.
So that there was no identifying mark on the collar?
No.
What time did you come home from picking up the dog?
About 5:30, 6 o'clock.
And what time did you find the dog missing?
I didn't put her out until about 9:30.
At 9:30 you found the dog missing?
Yes.
What did you do?
First, we went out searching for her all over the neighborhood, and my husband said she's probably down at Cindy's. At first, I didn't think Cindy would, go that low, but she did. And we made signs, and we put the signs out early the next morning. My husband.
Where did you put out the signs?
On the telephone poles, one being right beside her home, and another one down the street, and all up and down Galbraith Road, which is the off street from where we go to.
Okay.
I called the SPCA, who had told me that the dog wasn't there yet. I have a lost dog report where I filed the
Can I see
lost
it?
dog report that
I'd like to see
morning.
it, please.
I also got a copy of the sheltered animal report. When I went to go to the SPCA on the first day, the very next morning at 10 o'clock, the animal was not there yet. It wasn't until 1:35 until the animal was picked up by Cindy. She called the SPCA.
We'll get to her in a second. Okay, now how did you find out the dog was with Miss West?
My daughter went to a local pharmacy around the corner from where we live, which views the backyard of Mrs. West's home. She came in crying, saying that Lacey was in Cindy's backyard. So we went back in the back alley.
When was this? How many days
That was a week. It was on the 28th. Okay. I said, okay, let's go make sure, Ripley. I said, because, we want to make sure before we call the police.
Okay, so the answer is, was your dog, and did you call the police?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Called the police, you went to her home with the police?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
And she showed the police the adoption papers because she had since adopted this dog?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. West, when did you find this dog?
On the evening of the 15th, had to be about 11:30 at night. It was running freely through the neighborhood. I have a videotape where this dog ran, in an hour and 15 minutes, it ran 17 times through my yard.
Why would you videotape this dog?
I have a security camera on my house because this woman continually harasses me.
Is it on all the time?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And I called the SPCA. It was running out in the street, back and forth in the yard. And I opened the door and I said, "Hey, puppy," and the dog walked right in my house. Then I believe it was Monday, I had called to see if the owner had claimed the dog, and they said that no one had called for the dog, and I went down to see her. Owner has 5 days to claim. I waited 6, and then I went with my son and adopted the dog.
Did you see any signs that Miss Ellison put up in your neighborhood?
No, that's a complete lie.
You didn't see? No, I don't know whether it's a complete lie or not.
I didn't see any.
The answer is you did not see
No,
any
I didn't see
signs.
any.
Okay, now let's get to your counterclaim for a minute.
Okay.
Your counterclaim is that the plaintiff vindictively called Protective Services, uncross your arms, called Protective Services and said things about you with regard to your children, causing your children to be removed from your custody for over 3 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I'd like you to tell me about that because that's your counterclaim.
Yes. In the period when we were friends, there were several times that she stipulated to me that no matter what happened, not to call 241 Kids because she runs a very filthy household. And so we had agreed to that. If we hadn't, I'd have called Children's Services before she did. But I give my word,
I don't want to hear you. Go ahead.
On March 1st, Children's Services knocked on my door, claiming that they had got a report for a filthy house. Supposedly there was garbage in my house up to here, that I beat my kids, that I didn't feed my kids, and several other allegations.
Okay.
And my children were removed from me until there was a parental screening done.
Just a second. That's not what Protective Services does. They don't come in, remove children for 3 weeks while they do an investigation. When they receive a report, they come in and they say, "Can we come into your house?" And they come in and they make certain observations. So if they came into your house, they must have found your house filthy.
No.
Did they speak to your children?
Yes.
And it was at that time that they removed the children?
My children weren't actually...
Answer. Was it at that time that they removed the children?
They were placed under a safety agreement.
Okay. So they allowed the children to remain in your home under an agreement with you. Is that right?
No.
With whom?
My children were not allowed to be left alone with me whatsoever. I either had to have someone stay with me or they had to go to my mother's.
Okay. So they were allowed to stay with you if there was someone else in the house. And that was after they spoke to the children?
It was...
After they spoke to the children?
No.
Wrong.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Elizabeth Ellison says neighbor Cynthia West stole her dog in retaliation for calling child services. Cynthia is countersuing for defamation of character.
When was the agreement entered into that you would not be left unsupervised with your children?
On March 1st.
So this is before the dog disappeared? Was there an investigation?
Was there an investigation?
That's my question.
Yes, I have an open case.
So your case was not marked unfounded. It is still an open case.
I can explain to you why.
Just answer my question.
Okay, yes.
The case was not marked unfounded, which means that there was no merit to the claims. It was an open case, which means it's still outstanding and subject to investigation.
It'll be closed the end of this month.
Who knows?
I do.
Do you have any reports from social services?
That's confidential information. It would have to be subpoenaed.
So that you don't have them?
Exactly.
Do you have any initial reports that were furnished from social services?
Those are not public information.
Oh. Is this the first time that social services has visited your home?
Oh, yes.
The first time?
First. Very first.
Why would you and the defendant talk about not calling social services? I mean, I've had lots of friends in my life. One of the things that we certainly never talked about was never calling social services about how we are as parents. We talked about a lot of other things. We complained about our husbands, the local market, but we never had a discussion about social services. Why would you have an agreement with her not to call social services, Miss West?
That was the stipulation that she set down, not I.
No, it was a stipulation you sat down by
Now,
being
okay,
a drug
just a second,
head.
Miss Ellison, you interrupted again, but I'm going to come
I'm
back to
sorry.
you for a second. I'm not going to ask you whether or not you placed this call.
It's an anonymous hotline.
It was because it's an anonymous hotline, so I'm not going to ask you whether you did or not. But it is your belief that because she thought that you placed this call, she retaliated by taking the dog.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I have proof she took the dog.
Let me see.
This is a Coleraine Township Police Department with police report. If you would read it, you would see at the bottom, it states that she admitted taking my dog. And she also knew it was my dog. She told him when she got there. When he got
Don't
there.
tell me what you told. I'm looking at her.
Sure you don't have a copy of that?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to give both of you 1, 2, 3, then you're out of here. Do you understand?
Yes.
Did social services come to visit your house?
Yes, ma'am. I have a copy of my...
Can I see it, please?
Human resource.
Because I see that after she believed you
You
called
can
on
also...
her.
Yes, she did. She called on me.
All right.
May I comment?
Sure.
I did not make that call. I'm not the only person that knows she runs a filthy house.
Okay. All I can tell you is she has this document here, which you clearly do not have, which indicates that her case was immediately closed.
They made a surprise visit. Just like her. Sorry.
I like to conduct a very orderly place. Clean, neat, and orderly.
Go ahead.
You don't have this, that your case was closed, is that right?
No, because my case is still ongoing. Would you like for me to answer that why? You had asked me that before.
Sure.
The reason my case is ongoing, part of the social interaction with her and I, we've smoked marijuana together. I was a recreational user. She
That's
gets
a
high
lie,
all day,
Judge.
I don't want to
every day.
hear.
That's what...
Shh, shh. Listen to me. Case closed. Case still open. That's the objective fact.
Because I admitted to my recreational use is the only reason I have an open case.
Because they caught you at the door, you and that Nicole, your
listen.
witness, smoking a joint.
Listen to me.
And you know what happens in my house?
You don't understand? You're going to both be out of here. Well, Miss West, police officer attributes the following to you. She stated that Miss Ellison had her kids taken away, but all she did was take away her dog, Miss Ellison's dog. So she, quote, went pretty light on her. That's what you told the police.
Can I respond?
Yeah, the police don't lie.
Well, no, I'm not going to lie.
Shh. You don't get it. Yes, I'm waiting for you to respond.
Okay. This was after she had come to my backyard and was cussing and hollering that I had her dog. That was the first point at which I was aware that this dog had previously belonged to her. And I did tell them that, but like I said, it was after that she had pointed out to me, you have my dog, and a few other explicit words mixed in there. But she had pointed that out to me. So at that point, I did know that it was her dog. But that was the first time that I had knowledge of that.
Who knows? Okay.
Nobody tapes the dog in a video yard.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Why don't you be quiet?
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
I have several things to consider. Right now, the dog has been with you for quite some time. Dog is integrated into your household?
Yes.
And you, I assume, take good care of this dog?
Yes.
Good.
No.
I don't want to hear from you yet. I'm primarily concerned about the dog, the children involved. Right now, she is the legal owner of that dog, and your lawsuit wants either the return of the dog or the value thereof, which you place at $500. Shh, quiet. That's what your lawsuit says.
The lawsuit is for, the $500 is for harassment. We would like to have the dog back. That's all we've ever wanted.
What I'm telling you is, she is now the legal owner of this dog, and I have to make a judgment as to how I'm going to resolve your lawsuit. I believe that there is a substantial possibility that Miss West did, in fact, come to your property, unchain the dog, and take the dog. That is a possibility. It is also a possibility that the dog got free.
I agree.
And was, in fact, roaming around. What she did was she did not secrete the dog. She brought the dog to the ASPCA immediately. You had an obligation to be vigilant and you could go to the ASPCA every day to see if the dog was there. The dog, I'm
called
speaking.
every day.
I don't care, call. I'm speaking. You had an opportunity to go to the ASPCA every day for day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look for your dog. You did not do that. So put your hand down. So since the dog has been in her custody, you had an opportunity to go and pick up your dog. You did not do that. She did not hide the dog. And there is, again, that possibility that your dog did, in fact, get out. Just get out. She probably knew it was your dog. Not sure. But I don't indulge myself in potentials or possibilities. I'm speaking. So I am awarding you $500. Even though you did not pay for this dog, I believe that Miss West knew or should have known that this was your dog and that there was a bit of retaliation in her keeping the dog and not calling you and letting you know that she had found the dog, and that there was something sneaky about the way she went about going there and legally adopting the dog. But she has legally adopted the dog. The dog is hers. It has been with her and her family for a long time. Now, Ms. West, I'm going to get to your counterclaim, which I am dismissing. What state do you live in?
Ohio.
The state of Ohio does not remove children from their home without cause for 3 weeks without taking a parent to court. Period. End of discussion. No state does that. The state may say, I'm going to give you a warning, clean up your house, but if the state of Ohio is still part of this union, there are certain due process rights that you have. And if your children were removed from your home, as you state in your claim, as a result of what is an anonymous call, and it may well have been Miss Ellison who called, may well have been, but it doesn't make any difference. She did not remove the children from your home. The state removed the children from your home, which means that they found some cause to remove the children from your home. Since you do not have the paperwork to show me what the cause was, I have to assume.
I do have.
Well, you do have now. Swell.
I do have the paper for the safety agreement. I do not have the letter that she has. I left that at home.
I don't want to hear the letter for the safety agreement. I want a report from the state indicating why they removed the children from your home.
This is what this is.
Well, I'll take a look at it. That doesn't look like, I don't want to hear from you. You're finished.
Okay, no problem.
Well, they clearly found you using drugs.
I admitted to it. They asked me
Whether
the
you
question.
admitted to it or they found it. One of the stipulations was adults will refrain from all illegal drug use in the home. Who else lives in the home other than you and your 2 children?
My husband. Nicole's staying with us right now.
Excuse me?
Nicole Lake, this lady right here. Her mother left and went to Florida, so she's staying with me.
One
so
they
she can
found
stay.
doing drugs.
Shh. Don't want to hear you. What are you showing me? I read this already.
In the highlight, it shows that Miss Ellison admitted to being the one who called 241.
What difference does it make? The police had cause. The police had cause to remove your children. They either saw or you admitted to using drug use. And listen to me, Miss West, I'm not stupid. If the authorities came to your home and found nothing untoward in your home, found you perfectly straight,
they did.
Making matzo ball soup in your kitchen, right? And you just volunteered to them that you used drugs, volunteered to them, you must think that I was born 2 days ago. That's not what happens. They had evidence. They either found you in a condition of being under the influence, they smelled something in your home, they found something in your home, something happened, and then you admitted that you used drugs. But a normal person doesn't invite authorities into their home and say to them, let me tell you everything. Sometimes my house isn't neat and sometimes my kids' clothes aren't clean, but the worst thing that I do is use drugs. We understand each other. Your counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
ये लो भाई साहब हाँ ये लो भाई साहब हाथ।